Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today I'm going to show you how I make this cute dress. It's very easy. It's a step-by-step tutorial, and I make a sleeve. I have shown how to make a basic sleeve on my video. I will put the link down below so that you can watch that video. And this is my bow for the dress. I haven't stitched it yet, so I'm going to put it on the side of this dress. I have made this dress for my daughter, so I will put a picture on my right or my left. So the top is the sleeveless top and the sequins and a bow at the front of the dress. It's really beautiful, and the dress is invisible zipper at the center back. This is how it is, and the skirt is full circle skirt. Please don't forget to support us by subscribing. Turn on your notification bell button and select all options. If my tutorial is helpful, thumbs up. Make a comment down below if you have any question. If you're a new subscriber, you're welcome. Thank you so much for subscribing, and turn on your notification bell button so that you don't miss any of our future video. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for staying with us. We appreciate you so much. And let's get started. First thing that you have to do, you're going to cut your fabric. So I have my fabric here. I'm using this rose pink fabric for the skirt, while I will use this black fabric for the top. I have already cut my fabric. It's a circle skirt. If you are a beginner, I will show it one more time how you can cut your own circle skirt. And I've also cut out my top. To cut out your top, I will also explain the details how you can cut your top. So let me show you how you can cut your own circle skirt. This is my thread for the skirt. This is my thread for the top. When you are going to cut out your circle skirt, first thing that you have to do, you're going to fold your fabric into 4. You see, 1, this is 2, 3, 4. So you fold your fabric into 4 places. Because it's black fabric, I hope you guys can see that. So you can see that the fold hem side will be facing you. All this side are folded, all this side are folded, while all this side right here are the raw edges. So you're not going to place your measuring tape at the raw edges. You're going to place your measuring tape on the folded edge side. This side is folded while this other side is folded. This is where you're going to start to put your measurement. The next thing that you have to do, you're going to take the child waist measurement. So if the child waist measurement is 25 inches, 25 inches divided by 6.28, the measurement that you get, you just place your measuring tape like this. If it's 4.5 inches, you just go ahead and measure it all around 4.5 until the end, and then you draw a circle. You take your marker, you just go ahead and connect the mark together. It will be a circle. From that circle, you place your measuring tape, you measure your desired length. If your length is 16 inches, just go ahead and measure your desired length. I will place my measuring tape like this. I'm going to measure around 4.5 inches. I will take my marker. I will just go ahead and measure around 4.5 inches. You can see where I placed my measuring tape at the tip of the fabric. 4.5 inches all around. I have measured the 4.5 inches. I will take my marker. I will just go ahead and connect the mark together. Once you connect the mark together, before you cut it out, remember to add your seam allowance. So I will place my measuring tape from this, my actual waistline. I will measure inside 1/2 inch. So place your measuring tape, just go ahead and measure inside 1/2 inch. Depends on the seam allowance you want to add on your fabric when you're sewing them together. You just measure all around 4.5 inches. Once you have done that, also go ahead and connect the mark together. I have connected my seam allowance together. The next thing that you have to do, you're going to take your desired length for the skirt. For my actual skirt, the length is 17 inches. But for the lining, I'm going to minus 1.5 inch because I want the lining to be shorter than the main fabric. So when you are making a dress, make sure that your lining is always shorter than your main fabric. My skirt length is 17. So I'm going to minus 1.5 inch, and the measurement that I'm going to take is 15.5 inch. So I will place my measuring tape. I'm going to measure around 15.5 inch from my actual waistline, not from my seam allowance. I have taken my measurement and I've also connect all the mark together. The next thing that I'm going to do, I will take my scissors. I will just go ahead and cut it out. I have cut out my circle skirt. This is how it is. The next thing that I'm going to do, I will also take my scissors and open one side of the circle skirt because we are going to attach a zipper at the center back. The next thing that you have to do, you're going to cut your bodies. That is the front top. So the front is unfold while the back of the top is not unfold. Make sure to add your zipper allowance. So my zipper allowance is 1 inch and my seam allowance from the armhole neckline and on the side seam is 1 centimeter seam allowance. So I also did the same thing on the front top. The neckline, shoulder, armhole, side seam, my seam allowance is 1 centimeter. From the waistline, I add 1/2 inch seam allowance because when I was cutting out the skirt, I add 1/2 inch on the skirt. So I add also 1/2 inch on the top dress that we are going to join together to make a dress. So this is how I cut my top dress. The next thing that you have to do, you're going to cut your sleeve. I have make my sleeve. If you don't know how to make sleeve, I would recommend that you go to my YouTube channel. I have make a basic sleeve on my YouTube. Watch that video and then you can come back and watch how I explain this sleeve pattern paper. So when you make your basic sleeve, so this is my basic sleeve that I cut, and you can see a different paper under the basic sleeve. So when you're going to make a puff sleeve, take a different paper, put it under your basic sleeve, make a straight line, that will be the sleeve head, make a straight line, and then take your basic sleeve, cut it into two. Do not cut it all the way to the end, just cut it all the way to this other point. From that mark, that basic mark that you put on your pattern paper, decide you want to add 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters. So mine is 1 centimeter here, 1 centimeter on this other side. This is 1 centimeter, this is 1 centimeter. So then I take my tape and I tape it. I cut this out 1 centimeter and I tape it, and I cut this other side 1 centimeter and I tape it. You can see that I didn't cut this side. And for the back, I did the same thing. I cut this side, add 1 centimeter. I cut this other side, add 1 centimeter, and I tape it together. So once you've done that, for the sleeve here, you're going to determine the measurement that you're going to add. You want 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. From the sleeve here, you measure up. Once you measure up, from where you measure, where the inches end, you place your armhole curve. This is my armhole curve. You just place your armhole curve on the sleeve head. You just go ahead and connect it to where you didn't cut. This is where I didn't cut my sleeve. You just connect it all the way to this point. You turn your armhole curve ruler, place it like this, and you also go ahead and connect it down. So this is how I make my puff sleeve. And you can see the other paper under my basic sleeve. This sleeve that I make, I'm going to add some few inches to that because for the sleeve I want to add some elastic on the sleeve. So what I'm going to do, I'll fold my sleeve like this, and I've also fold my fabric into two like this. This is the fold hem side. So I will place my sleeve like this. You can see how I place my sleeve. Place it like this. I will move my sleeve like this. The sleeve head is on the forward hem side, and I will move it. I'm going to add 1.25 inch from hem of the sleeve. I'm going to add 1.25 inch because I want to add elastic to have a little bit of gather on the sleeve. I will pin it like this. You can see how I pin it. Measure 1.25 inch, or depends on the seam allowance you want to add. Then once you have done that, go ahead and add your seam allowance around the sleeve head, all around your seam allowance. Mine is 1 centimeter. From the sleeve at the bottom like this, I'm going to add 1 inch at the bottom because like I said before, I'm going to add elastic. I'll add 1 inch at the bottom. On this side, I will add 1.25 inch. If you want to cut the front of the sleeve, all you have to do is just take your scissors, just trim a little bit out from the front of your sleeve. So this is how I will cut my sleeve. Once I am done with that, we can now start to put the dress together. First thing that you have to do, you open your front top. This is the front of my top. You put the both shoulder seam together. This is the back. Make sure that the both front fabric are facing each other. You can go ahead and pin the both shoulder seam together. Once you have pinned the both shoulder seam together, take it to your sewing machine, stitch the both shoulder seam with 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then you take your lining. This is the front of my lining, and this is the back of my top lining. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. Put the both shoulder seam together. Go ahead and stitch the both shoulder seam with 1 centimeter seam allowance. I have stitched the both shoulder seam together. The next thing that you have to do, you take your lining, place your lining on top of your made top. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. We are going to pin around the neckline. I have pinned around the neckline. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, stitch around the neckline with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once you have done that, take your scissors, snip around the neckline. Then we can now understitch the neckline. I have stitched around the neckline of my top, and I've also taken my scissors, snip around the neckline of my top. This is how it looks right now. The next thing that you have to do, this is my lining, this is my made fabric. You push your seam allowance towards the lining. So when you're top stitching, you just top stitch very close to the edge, all around the neckline. Once you have done that, take it to your ironing board and give it a good press. I have understitched the neckline of my top dress. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to put both side seam of the dress together. You just go ahead and put the both side seam together like this. I have put the both side seam together. If you're putting the both side seam together, made fabric together, lining together. I'm going to put them together separately. This is my made fabric. You can see I put the both sides seam together, and this is my lining. I put the both sides seam together. What you're going to do, take it to your sewing machine, stitch the side seam with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once you have done that, you take your sleeve. This is the front of my sleeve. I put a mark right there. Use your marker to mark the front of your sleeve. Also use your marker to mark the back lining of your sleeve. So both front are facing each other. I'm going to pin the bottom edge of the sleeve together. Once I am done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and top stitch with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once I have also top stitched the sleeve together, I'm going to understitch the sleeve just the same way we understitched our top dress. I will also understitch the sleeve together. I will also understitch the sleeve together. I have stitched the side seam of my top dress, and I've also stitched my sleeve. This is how it is, and I just understitch the sleeve together. The next thing that you have to do, I will take my measuring tape. I'm going to measure inside 1 inch. If you're using centimeter, measure 2.5 centimeter. I'll measure from the lining. This is 1 inch. Place your measuring tape like this. You measure inside 1 inch. It's right here. You just measure it all around. I have measured my 1 inch and I connect the mark together. Before you take it to your sewing machine and stitch, from that 1 inch, also place your measuring tape like this. Measure half an inch. Once you have measured it all the way down, also take your ruler and your marker, connect the mark together. I have connected my mark together and you can see my half an inch. This is also half an inch. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, go ahead and give it a top stitch all the way down. You go to the next mark that you measure, half an inch, go ahead and give it a top stitch all the way down. Once you have done that, set your sewing machine to the longest stitch. You are going to stitch on the sleeve head. So you just go ahead and top stitch around the sleeve head. Make sure to set your sewing machine to the longest stitch. So go ahead and stitch them together, and you also repeat the same process with your second sleeve.